There we go. All right. Without further fabulous ado, Miss Tanya, you are up.
All right, I'm going to hit OK up at the top so that I can at least see you all. So before I do have slides to share, but I always love to just talk a little bit about why I do what I do. And I talked a little bit about that a few minutes ago. As a wealth advisor, I often have conversations with clients about decisions that they made early on. And Kristen, you hit it right on the head, or decisions they didn't know they were able to make early on. And sometimes that impact is so significant and can be life changing that I enjoy sharing as early and as often as possible. I have a certification, certified exit planning advisor. So I also help business owners learn how to exit their business. But one thing that Sarah and I touched on, my passion isn't waiting until the end of that person's path or career. It's taking the options and the choices and moving them forward so they have the ability to work towards those while they're building their business. And that's really what I want to talk to everybody about today, and why I named it today's topic about, paying yourself like a CEO, not just as a small business owner, but as a CEO. And, most of us who've started our business have a passion for what we do. It offers freedom and flexibility. But there's also a part of it that if we allow it, it will run our business. Our business will run our lives as well. And so trying to create that freedom to kind of have a little bit of both. So, we're talking about, are you building a business or are you building something for your life? And I hope that the answer is one, you're doing both, but that you're including your life in that topic. And one of the things I'm going to ask, and it's because we talked about it being participatory, so I'd love for you all to really, share with me some famous CEOs and famous founders of businesses. If you'll take a second, and I've got some listed myself, but is there anybody that comes to mind that you know of that's really considered, or when they introduce themselves, they are a founder, business owner, CEO, and they use all those titles when they introduce that person?
I would say Sarah Blakely comes to mind.
Yes. Kendra Scott, another one,
Jessica
Yes.
Oprah
Alba.
Winfrey. Yeah, Oprah Winfrey.
You see Jessica Alba.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow, I would add that in there too. But yeah, all of these people, when they're introduced, they are introduced as not just the owner of a business, they're the founder and CEO. And those aren't just titles. Those are they are a part of what that business is and what they do, um, as far as that goes. So they're not just an owner. There's a different hat for each one of those titles.
It was
I
interesting for me to learn that the CEO of General Motors was a lady. Her name was, I
Mhm,
think, Mary Barra, and we learned
mhm,
about we do training twice a week, and that was really interesting to me. So
mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and the biggest question I'm going to ask today is, who do you know that works for free? Right?
Yeah,
Head shaking, nobody, right?
nobody.
And neither do these founders slash CEOs. So the question that really comes to mind is, why do we? A lot of times as business owners, that's the first thing we do. We put back into the business before we pay ourselves. And as a CEO, what comes to mind for them is the strategy that they put in place before they do anything else. And that is evidently very key. So why does this matter? And this is where I'm going to start sharing my screen a little bit. Bear with me. Oops. And start from the beginning. Yes. I have to minimize you all for a second so that I can. There we go. Get us caught up. The reason why this question is so important is because we can't predict our business value. You may exit earlier than you planned, and industries quickly change. And when it comes to, I'm going to come back to you for a half a second. So when it comes to businesses that change, think about the businesses that are no longer in existence, right? Party City closed down a few years ago. Joanne Fabrics, you could probably list a handful of companies that I want you to think about that no longer exist. If you had planned your business and when you exit or you're ready to sell, what value does your business have at that point in time? If industries change, you may not get to retirement. If that's further down the road, 10, 15, 20 years, that may make a big impact on what you've been working towards all this time and how much you will be able to walk away with. So having a plan in place is really important and really key. I'm going to come back to sharing one more time. And bear with me as I keep going back and forth because I like seeing faces and I like being able to get some response. Let's see. So again, you can't predict where your business is. There are situations that happen when you don't have an opportunity to exit on your own terms. Sometimes people get sick, there's divorce, there's disagreement in if you have a partnership, and you come, down the road and you're not able to make an agreement and you might have to exit. Again, we talk about industries changing and how things change so quickly, especially with technology being the way it is. So today we're going to talk about business owners versus CEO. Business owners tend to focus on running their business. Hold on one second. The screen, for some reason, I apologize, is
You're good. We can see it.
okay. You can see it. Okay, it's blocking my view, so I apologize for that.
No, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So business owners focus on running their business, the day-to-day part of it. They're often reactive when it comes to income, and sadly, pay themselves last. That's the hat as a business owner. You're building it, you're growing it, you founded it. So that's what your focus tends to be on. CEOs make very intentional financial decisions. They structure how money flows when it comes in, and they build both income in the future of the business. So it's technically two different hats. Again, like I mentioned, business owners react to income. So once something comes in, then they start planning on, okay, I'm going to pay this, I'm going to do that. We're going to, add inventory, and they start planning once the money is in. CEOs take the opposite. They already know what they're going to do with the money because they've already decided how that money is going to flow through the business. And in the CEO strategy, they expect to get paid. They build with intention, and they build beyond today. And that's why it's important for us to start switching our hats a little bit. You can wear both, but know that there is a difference in which one you're wearing and what your intentions are for it. You can have one business, but have two plans. And what that really is looking at is the plan for your growth, but also the plan for what your future looks like. Your business is about income today. Your plan or your CEO plan is for your income later. And it's okay to focus on both. I know sometimes as business owners, we feel guilty because we want to put the money back into the business to continue to let it grow. We see that we can build it and have a plan for that. And that's typically our biggest focus is just the business itself. But how do you pay for yourself later? How do you do that? You do that through a retirement plan. And that is where you focus or build the second plan. We also pay our taxes or file our taxes at this point in time. And if your CPA has your information, there's two questions that you can ask. How much could I have contributed to my retirement? And would that have changed my taxes? Often as business owners, we think about putting our money back into our business. But as a CEO, what can we do for our second plan? Where can that money flow? And so that is one of the decisions and thoughts that I want for you to refocus and relook at. How can you change this thought process? When we think about taxes, taxes reduce what we get to keep today. It's all about today. The strategy or the CEO plan allows you to build income for tomorrow. The question is, I'm going to stop here. And the question is, how do I do that? So one of the things that I'm going to also ask you is when somebody comes into my office, we usually have a couple of stages of life. Those that are early on, and I bring up, retirement, and they're in their 20s and 30s. And the response I often get is, girl, please, this is not where I'm at today. If they're in their 40s, they've got about 20 to 25 years before they retire. And they will often respond, it's on the horizon. Then I get those that are about 10 years out. And what they come to me with is two responses typically. One is the, oh crap, it's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And then you've got those that I'm in the zone. They've planned for it, they're looking forward to it, and there's not an issue. And I know this isn't a big enough crowd, but I'd love for you to, put in the chat, which one are you? Are you the girl? Oh, girl, please. It's on the horizon. Oh, crap. Or I'm in the zone.
Yeah, to be honest, it's something that I haven't even thought of, Tanya. So it's interesting to listen to what you're saying. So I think I just get so caught up in the day to day, like you said at the beginning of your slide. So for sure.
Okay. So here I've got two slides that I'm going to show you as to why the earlier you start, the more impact it will have for you. It's not too late. We're also going to show you all three stages of, if you're young and it's the girl, please don't bring this up to me right now. It's on the horizon. We might want to start talking about it, but not right now. And then the, oh crap person, right? So what does that look like? Usually what happens when, okay. And I apologize for, I love to keep going back and forth, but okay. So usually what happens when somebody walks into my door, they either have a goal in mind and they might come in and say they have $1 million goal. And we sit there and we back into what does that look like? So for each of the young ladies on here, Eve, Sophia, and Joan, they're of different ages and different stages of their life, but they all want to retire at 67 and they have the same goal of having $1 million. Sophia, excuse me, Eve is about 40 years out because she's 27, so she's got a long ways to go. For her, she needs $25,000 a year, but if you broke it down to just $2,100 a month, it could be doable. She has a long time to go. Sophia, who's a little bit older, 15 years older, she's 42, and it'll be 25 years before she retires. She'll need more money, obviously, because she has a little less time. So she'll need $40,000 or $3,400 a month. Joan, who's about 10 years out before she retires, her goal at $1 million would mean she'd have to save $100,000 a year or $8,400 a month. The earlier you start, the less you have to put, because the biggest benefit that you have is time. It takes less to get to the same goal because you have longer to work towards it. It's never too late to start because Sophia can still do it. And honestly, $3,400 is not a huge jump from the 21. She's been working a little bit longer and perhaps, she's made more money and able to contribute a little more towards it. Joan, however, on the other hand, she has 10 years and she would have to save $100,000 a year or $8,400 a month. That is a significant jump. And truthfully, each one of these ladies are only 15 years apart. Eve and Sophia, 15 years. Sophia and Joan are only 15 years. But what a difference waiting from the age of 42 to 57 to start your plan today. That's kind of the biggest takeaway that I would have for someone looking at this is it is so significant just getting started at some point. Doesn't have to be the full amount today, but getting started will make a difference. And then the next one is if we just kept it simple, the same three ladies, instead of $1 million goal, they came in and said, I can give you $500 a month towards my retirement. What would that look like? Eve, starting at 27, still having 40 years of $500 a month or $6,000 a year, will have $240,000 by the time she retires. Waiting 15 years like Sophia did, she's still putting $500 away, $6,000 a year. She'll have $150,000. But Joan, who at 57 is planning on retiring in 10 years, she's still putting the same amount aside, $6,000 a year. She will have $60,000 by the time she retires. So the earlier you can put the same amount of money away, the more significant that amount will be. This is not even investing dollars. This is truly just setting actual dollars aside for savings. But also, this is when we talk about whether you're paying yourself as a CEO or if you're paying your business. When you start paying yourself, you can set this amount of money aside for your future, and you will see that amount build for you. So the question is, would you rather pay yourself or would you rather pay taxes? Going back to this, would you like to see this amount of money in your retirement for yourself or this amount of money paid towards your taxes every year? The truth of the matter is that it may not be the right time for everybody. And it's not too late to think about what you can do for yourself. You can participate in an IRA or even a Roth. Now, the Roth does not have the tax benefits that an IRA would. The reason why I like to bring it up and why I'm bringing it up today is because if you have not filed your taxes, it's not too late to open a Roth or an IRA, whichever you choose to do and whatever benefits you. But the IRA will give you the tax benefits and you can pay towards last year. It's one of the few options that allows you to open the previous year, or within the year you're filing your taxes for the previous year, and make contributions before you file your taxes. So if you have this conversation with your CPA and they say the difference would have been you may not have been able to contribute to a business retirement plan, but you could have contributed to your personal IRA. And the difference would have been this is how much you would have paid, and it might be significantly less, or you may have qualified not to have to pay taxes. So ask those questions of your CPA before you finalize your taxes for this year. Let's go back. And today, paying yourself like a CEO would be talking about what if you created more choice than you needed before you needed it. The choice that you have and what we're talking about today is really the benefit of paying yourself along the way, allowing yourself the freedom and flexibility of, yes, continuing to build your business, but having that second plan alongside your business should you need it, for it to grow for you as well. Tax free and tax deferred, well, it's actually tax deferred, planning is really key. It allows you to grow that money before you need it and while you are building your business along the way. I trade this word optionality is something that I've talked about before in some other settings, and it's building a plan before a decision is required. It's being proactive about building your business, building who you are, building along the way so that should something come up, you have options and plans in place to build a stronger, proactive strategy for yourself. The truth is, you're not building just a business. You're building something that should work for you, and you allow money to work for you to help build your business along the way. So for those that are interested, if you go to my website, tonya-cleaver.com, under the resources page, there is an assessment that you can take, CEO versus owner. It'll allow you to think about how you are setting yourself up for success, for your future, for exiting your business, and how you can be proactive in paying yourself like the CEO that you are. So
Can we
that's,
see that again?
huh?
Can we see that again, please?
And they're basic questions on there to allow you to think about how are you looking at your business, how you've planned for your business, are you planning for your future along the way? So it's just a good opportunity. There's, no right or wrong answer. It's just about where are you taking a true assessment for yourself in your business. And then there's a couple of prompt questions in that as well that will allow you to answer those for yourself and for your business. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of how am I looking at my business and how am I looking at what I do and how I'm planning it any better or different than I have moving forward. And Kristen, you were right when you talked about money is a mindset. So is being a business owner and being the CEO of your business, because having that second path on building money aside from your business for yourself will allow you that growth and flexibility that you'll need when you start to exit. Because when you exit, we don't know. Again, the biggest key is we don't know where your future is going to be in your business or in your industry. What changes? I mean, think about Blockbuster, who is one of the famous stories. They had an opportunity to change multiple times their model, and they felt so successful at what they were doing until Netflix came along and changed that for them. And who's in existence today and who's not. Blockbuster isn't around. They didn't have the ability to pivot and to change. And this opportunity allows you, as you are going through the years and through your business, to pivot, to change, to think of your business in a different way, to put a different hat on, and to look at your business with a different lens.
So, Tanya, when you were showing the graphs of the different numbers, what
Mhm.
kind of investments was that? You
This
know,
was this was not investment. This was just truly if you saved money,
got it.
what would that look like? And I didn't want to convolute it with returns or anything like that, because all of that could be different for each individual. Depends on how much you put in, what you want to invest in, your risk tolerance. There's a lot of questions behind that. So it was easier
Absolutely.
just to say, yeah. So it was easier just to say, how much money could I have at the end of the day if I did nothing but save that money?
So, okay. So imagine if you did invest that money,
Mhm.
with the outcomes, with the compounding that those numbers could look like. I mean, that could be a 10x fold. Like,
Correct.
yeah,
And we'll get deeper into that in the second one, because we'll talk about retirement planning more specifically. What time value of money looks like, what compound looks like, things like that. But today it was really the biggest shift that I even have to work with is business owners wanting to take care of not just their business, but themselves. And that truly is something that has to start first.
yeah.
You have to stay consistent. You'll have to want to do this. It is a strategy, not just, hey, I've got to do this, but it is a conscious, intentional plan that you put in place to say, I'm going to pay myself or my business along the way. And when money comes in, where am I allocating it? I'm putting part of it back into the business, not all of it. I'm going to put part of it, into, the growth and the future of the business. But also I'm going to put a part aside for me. And that mindset shift. Sometimes business owners always, think about the business first. That's what we've grown and what we want to build. We've created it, we've built it. We want to see it success. And sometimes seeing that success means that we forget that I might need to take care of me along that way too.
So, one question because I've seen this so much of this with my clients, as entrepreneurs, whatever it is that you do, I mean, real estate, network marketing, we building, W-2, whatever, but especially the entrepreneurs, there's sometimes consistent of inconsistency in their business with the ebb and flows. Maybe you're seasonal, holiday, whatever. So,
Mhm.
what would your recommendation be? Because that can feel sometimes overwhelming, like, oh, I said I was going to put X in here into this account. What's your recommendation on that to say, start here just with this? Like, because I'm sure you see that.
Well, often I'll ask, where do you feel like you can be consistent with? Because it's taking care of yourself, it's building that habit, it's building in the desire to take care of yourself too. So if you gave me a range, and a lot of times that's what what I ask for. And if they come back and say, Tanya, I can do 200 to 700, it just varies per month. Where can you be consistent? And if it's somewhere in the middle, so that when you have a $700 month, you might pay yourself a little more. When you have a lower month, you put in the minimum that you're going to put in, as long as it averages out. But it's being consistent and knowing that, don't give me a pie in the sky number. Don't give me the number that you think I want to hear. I'm going to ask for the number that you know that you can be consistent on, because you can always pay yourself more. But when you set yourself up to start pay yourself consistently every month, whatever that is. And then when you have an opportunity to pay more, and whether you're in business or not, I even talk to clients about, okay, think about, do you get a bonus every so often? Or when you start working overtime, or if you got a tax return, pay yourself out of some of that. Start thinking of, whenever I have money and I have an opportunity, included in that opportunity is the fact that I'm going to take care of me.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Tanya? Anything? Because this, like we said, is something we all need to be doing, should be setting up, but life gets in the way. And this moves around lots of times to the bottom of the list, or I'll do it next week. And then all of a sudden weeks turn into months, turn into years. And we're just like, I still haven't, I need to. So that can put a lot more heavy energy on it, because we think then we could be behind. I should have started it. So is there anything coming up? Because we get it. We've all been there with this kind of stuff in our lives, or is there any, Tanya, do you have any apps or budgeting apps, or not even so much budgeting apps, but money organizational apps? Let's say that. Is anything that you've worked with or recommend that's, I don't know, just anything you can, so you can see your money. Is there anything that you recommend in that?
So, not necessarily apps, but one of the things that I recommend, at the beginning of every year, I tend to do a budgeting workshop at the library. And people look at just their month. I ask you to look at your year. So when you say that when you don't have money, and you've gone through, and I pull every statement, every bank statement, every credit card statement, see where your money is going. For me to be attached to it, I actually like the paper. I don't tend to do apps. I'll look at the paper. I like to highlight. What am I, highlight in blue all the things that are necessary, so I know what I have to pay every month. Then I go through, and in another color, I'll go through and go, okay, this wasn't necessary. Things that come to mind, Starbucks. If I asked you, hey, you spend $2,000 a year on coffee, most of us would go, no, I don't, no way, because we don't attach that $5 or $6 cup every day or every week or every month or whatever, how often you spend money on it, really equates to something that you could have taken care of and bought something else. Same thing for me. Dry cleaning was a big bill for me. I did not realize how much I was spending on dry cleaning. I changed how I buy the clothes I buy, what I'm spending it on. Just because it's on sale doesn't mean that it might be worth it in the long run. If I'm spending money every month or every week on that outfit, then it's not a one and done. And nails come to mind, when we go feel good about going and getting mani pedi, things like that. It's not to say that you can't do it, but maybe think about, if you had a lofty goal somewhere down the road, or if you haven't started spending money on yourself, meaning on your future or your retirement, or on things that are important to you, but you're spending money on things that aren't necessary. then that's when it becomes really important to take a look at that. So, spend some time with the things that you spend money on. And also, the other reason why I say a year is if you own a home or there are things that you spend money on, maybe once or twice a year. Car insurance, for me, mine is a 6-month bill. I might not see it in the month that I'm pulling. So when you pull it through the year and carry all that money across, what are you really spending money on? And have you allocated enough? Because sometimes when you are short each month, it's because you may have forgotten about something that that has to be paid because it's not paid literally every month. So it's another way of looking at everything that you have obligations to, and where you
Yeah.
can start cutting.
Oh, yeah. What would your maybe suggestions be for categorizing that in terms of personal, business? What have you seen in your experience? If we really, when we sit down and go, oh, wait, how much did I spend on coffee? Like it might seem like $5 a day, but put that across a week or a month. So
Mhm.
what's your recommendations on how to look, like whether you're looking at your credit card bill and you're really taking a hardcore look? I think subscriptions are one. So what's
Subscriptions
what are
are a
your
big one.
suggestions?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I say look at your statements, and then look at are you paying it through your business? Are you paying it through your personal income? Where are you allocating this? Because coffee, if you're in a business that people are coming in and sitting down and waiting in a waiting room, it truly could be an expense that you need to include. Or, look at, I offer, 3 different types of coffee, but, you know, two are the most popular. Cut that third one out. There are still ways to find out how you can, you know, you're right about subscriptions, but where are you spending money, and start looking at, is it a benefit or not? Is it something that's going to, you know, we all want our clients to have a client experience. So snacks are something that are, key. When somebody comes and sits down, they're going to get a bottle of water or tea or coffee, and then, a snack. But does it, could it be nuts instead of, fresh, something that might last a little bit longer? It, it's all about just making sure that you are so involved in your business and the results that you're seeing, and where it's necessary, where it's not, what's important, what's not. If you're doing things that tie people to coming into your business, and after the pandemic, a lot of people are meeting online now. Maybe you don't need to have as much stuff sitting in your office as you did before. So it's really just that's taking the CEO hat and going, where's my money flowing? How is it benefiting my business? And where can I cut? Because it's not just about cutting, it's about, I need to add growth to my business. I need to add a plan, for my business when it comes to retirement. What am I spending money on, and what am I missing that's so important to the growth and future of my business?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Tanya, when you think back on all the different people that you've helped and that you've worked with, what would you say, or what stands out to you that are maybe habits that separate people that are working towards becoming financially successful versus those that maybe struggle long term? What are those habits that you see stand out?
So one of the habits is making it automatic. And there's a book, The Automatic Millionaire. Um, and I enjoyed that book, and it's been a while since I've read it. But automate what you can. So it takes the thought process, the choice out of those decisions. Because if you're sitting with money in your hand, what decision are you going to make? Are you going to go, up, you know what, part of this really needs to go to my retirement? Or, hey, wait a minute, I saw this great new tool that I want to add to my business. Might not be necessary, might have to plan for it. But when you have the ability to automate certain things, and I highly recommend only automate those dollars that are stable. Meaning, bless you. So meaning if you're paying something and it's always $100 a month, it's not going to fluctuate. Automate that. If you automate something that varies, you haven't built in for it. Electric bills, don't put that on there because it's not a flat cost every month. Automate your flat costs. So those are the things that you can eliminate. You don't have to make a decision on. What you make a decision on moving forward first will be categorizing those that are necessary. Those are your non-discretionary dollars. That means it has to be paid. Something will happen if I do not pay it. My lights will be turned off. My electricity will be turned off. My insurance will be canceled. Then you have your discretionary spending. That's the money that you have a choice on whether you want to spend money on it or not. That's so I would put it in that category of first automate any stable dollars that you know that are going to come out. Then you start paying your non-discretionary, so the money that has to be paid. Your employees, if you want them to continue to show up, you'll pay them. And then whatever's left, then that's where you start going with the money.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, I think automation, it makes it so much easier in so many ways because at least for me, it's not like trying to remember a date and did something get paid. You know what I mean? Like if it's and being really intentional, do I want to pay for this little extra subscription to whatever it is, and having that or it's anything. Like I know in the past when I've had things, I'm like, oh, I have to purchase something every month or whatever. That's weighs on you. So
Mhm.
I actually went through within the last year and just did a hard subscription look and canceled a lot of different things that I was like just shifted them. I'm like, you know what? Where am I at? They've I don't want this stuff anymore. Like really looked at it, but just doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And truth be told, that's why they do what they do. They offer
Mhm.
a great rate to get you in. More than like that's the reason why we sign up for a good subscription, and and sometimes we feel like we're going to use it and maybe it was valuable for a period of time, but over time it's something that's kind of fell off, but it is still
Yeah.
because they actually charge you every month. So they built it in so that that it
Yes.
became automatic to them. They're getting this money every month, but it's not a benefit to you. So be mindful. One habit that I've added is when I sign up for something, I actually go on my calendar and put down not 12 months, but 11 months out, cancel if I intend to cancel, so that
Mm.
it's not forgotten. And that's just a way for me to remember, because otherwise it's like, okay, well, this one was a 6 month membership. This one was a 1 year membership. This one was, and all of those dates vary. But if you put it in your calendar to make sure you're intentional about, do I keep this? Has it added a benefit? And if it didn't add a benefit, cancel it. You don't have to wait to the end. You can cancel that subscription. Usually they stop the monthly charge or rebate back the difference. So, you don't have to wait, but if you choose to, just make sure you're putting it somewhere that you are addressing down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
that's
even with
really good
business
advice.
subscriptions, like we have one for Zoom or Calendly or those, and it can seem like, oh, it's $10 a month or $12 a month, but they add up.
Hmm.
And it's like, what has worked last year? What is not? So even those subscriptions that we need to run our business,
Hmm.
so I'm sorry, Jessica, were you going to say something?
No, that's okay. I was just saying that's such good advice too. I remember reading a study one time on this particular subject right here, and I don't remember the numbers, but the amount of people that had subscriptions that they didn't even know that they had forgotten about. It was mind blowing.
Hmm.
You get so busy and just forget. And so yeah, that's really good advice. Marking it on the calendar in that way.
Hmm. And then, take an annual review. Like I said earlier when we were talking about, finding out where your money is going, and you pull the statements. A lot of us, they don't mail statements like they used to. It's all online. You have to go in, sit down, log in, look at it. You're not attached to it. That's why I like paper. You know, you can go in and print it, if you needed to, but really going in and taking a look at everything you're spending money on is just, it allows you to for it to be tangible. We're in a time frame now that a lot's not tangible. We used to actually spend money. We'd have cash in our pocket. We could see when it went away, or when you handed a lot of bills over and it's like, wait a minute, I had $100, yesterday, and today I only have 10. What happened? You see that, and when you're attached to it, it makes it a lot easier to make those decisions. When you're popping out a credit card or a debit card, it's not the same feeling. It's not seeing it, holding it, touching it, and knowing it, you know.
Yeah. That's yeah, very true. And that's why it's a mindset too. It's like you think the card, it's just I think that's why this generation, they don't touch money. They don't see money.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when credit cards were only allowed to use at certain places. And grocery
Oh
stores was
yeah,
not one of them. We couldn't use a credit card at a grocery store. So what you had is what you had.
yeah.
So yes.
And I
And
think sometimes attaching money to what you do, for example, if you had to spend if you had to spend 2 hours with somebody, and you're paying them $200 and $100 an hour, when you equate that to, hey, I'm going to go buy this cute handbag, that's $200. Well, that was 2 hours of time, of investment. I mean, so when you trade it back or look at it differently and go, let me attach money or even time to the value, you start to think of it a little bit differently.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I actually had someone ask me, full disclosure here, years ago, if they could have her team pay less for a vision board workshop if she supplied the supplies. And I was like, it's not about the supplies. Like really has nothing to do with the supplies,
Yeah.
And it was just an interesting conversation about that because you're right. It's like, what am I investing in? Like this person's knowledge. If I want to learn something, then and I want to go to somebody who's that's their lane,
Mhm.
that's please, share your years of experience and teachings or whatever learnings with me. So when you look at from that aspect, you're right. It's like this $200 purse could, yeah, am I going to wear it every day? All day, every day? Am I going to carry it around and look at it? Or am I going to spend that money and really invest in myself? That could be a
Mhm.
lifelong learning.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it and share. So, yeah. So Sarah brought up children. So let's talk about children and how what parents do when parents are having these conversations, how it affects our households and how it affects everyone around us. And do we talk about money? Do we not talk about money? Um, I remember a lot of it, like you don't talk about how much you make or how you spend money. It was not talked about, and yet then we all supposed to know how to do it. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I can relate. I grew up not talking about money. That was something our family just never we just never brought it up. And not just my immediate family, my extended family. My grandfather, when I was about a year out from graduating from college, sat me down and he said, you're going to get into the workforce sometime soon. And when you do, there are three things that you don't talk about. You don't talk about religion, politics, or money.
Mm.
And I mean, that was so ingrained. And what's interesting is one of the first jobs I had, I was a cashier at Sears, which again, one of the, we talk about businesses that are no longer around. But I was a cashier there. And I was in the men's and children's section. There's a kiosk in the middle. And it was interesting that people would come up to the counter and they openly talked about money. So I thought, wow, this is foreign, to me. But so just because you grew up a certain way doesn't mean that you have to stay that way. I think it's important to have these conversations. I think if we had more of these conversations, if we saw how other people viewed it and looked at it, maybe it challenges us, maybe it helps us to help somebody else. We don't know where that falls, but I will say I don't personally have kids, but my nephew, when he was growing up, he would come up every summer. We'd spend a week with him and we'd just go play. And the one thing that I loved that he said that made me pause was I didn't realize I was going to the ATM and getting money out. And so we were going somewhere and I said, "Oh, Andre, I don't have any, I don't have any cash on me." And he goes, "Well, just drive through, use your card and drive through and get money." you and I was like, what am I teaching him? So moving forward, what we did is, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. This is the week, these are the things that we have planned for this week. And if we allocate X amount per, event, what became more important to him and what didn't, and helping him to have choice and to go, okay, let's go to that park because it's free, and now we can put more money on this if we don't go out to lunch. So it became a game to him, but it became something that he learned from. And as he grew older, it helped him to make smarter money choices because he was more aware of what it did for him. And so I love that. That was not even in this industry at that time, but I was able to, change that narrative moving forward. The next generation isn't afraid to have that money conversation. Now he's got an aunt who's in the financial industry. So we do talk a lot more about money and how he can grow it and what he needs to do to plan for his future. Um, and it's probably not too early to ever have that conversation. It's the conversation of how you have that conversation. How can somebody who's 40 years old, you know, um, relate to it versus somebody who's 10 or 15? They're going to relate to it differently. Doesn't mean that they can't relate to it. We just have to figure out for that child what works best.
Yes. Yeah, because you can have your kids work in your business, share a little bit about that because
Hmm.
that's huge, at any age and start putting money into a Roth or something for them. So
Yeah,
share a little bit
yeah,
about that.
yeah. And I have to be very careful because, you know, um, I can talk about it in general, but it may
Yes,
apply
very
to some
general.
people and not. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
that is something that you can definitely look at if it works for you, if it applies to you, if you've got the ability to do it. One, it teaches them work skills. It teaches them that trade we talked about earlier, your time and money and value. So you've got a lot of opportunity to help them. It helps you as well. But it gives them an opportunity to learn a skill, a trade, and understand that when you get into the workforce, um, that skill, that trade is worth something of value. And that value or trade is money. And then what you do with it, and teaching them, it's not just about spending today, it's about putting it aside for tomorrow or the future so that you have something when you graduate, or depending on their age, maybe they're saving up for something big or going off to college, that they have accumulated um, a nice little nest egg that allows them to learn, hey, all of what I did was worth something, and here it is. And then teaching them, how do I grow it from that point forward? And that's the other part of that. So, teaching those skill sets early on, younger, is incredibly, good to do, and, beneficial for those that are able to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
my husband, he has a successful exterior cleaning business that he has gotten to where now he's full commercial for builders. And my son, who's 15, about to be 16, he started working for him. And so my husband's been able to teach him all of those things about, investing your money wisely and stuff. My husband's much more savvy on all of that than I am. So it's been really neat because, like you said, growing up, I never remember having discussions on it was just, which with my mom and dad, it was just a struggle bus the whole time, so that it never came up. So it's really neat to be able to have those conversations with our kids that I never got to have.
Yeah. And honestly, if money mistakes were going to happen, if they happen while they're younger, I had one particular client that comes to mind when we were talking about just putting money aside and teaching him how, that the money that you put in certain accounts are designed to stay in the account to grow over time. Having a savings account, a checking account, an emergency savings, retirement, whatever that looks like, each one of those accounts has a different meaning. And he had to learn, where am I putting my money? Because he was putting it in money that we were going, this was designed for your long-term growth. And to teach that now for him to understand, gave him the tools and the skill set for college when he didn't have somebody to have to ask, what do I, which account am I pulling from? Which account am I adding to? And which account, gives me, the flexibility, to do some of the things that I'm looking to do. And it was a excellent learning tool, for situations like that. It was nice to see that, that he could process that and had the room, to do that, not just with his parents, but with, somebody else like myself who could, walk through, okay, you know, what are your goals? What are your plans? What did you say that you were working towards? And then just be able to help him to assess what that meant, what that, what his long-term goal was. Was it a real goal? Because sometimes we might set a goal and think, oh yeah, I want this. And then halfway through it's like, no, I did it because somebody else was telling me. You've got to learn what keeps you motivated to do what you're doing. And that's not just as children, that's as an adult too. What's going to keep you motivated? That's why, one of the first things that I do is I sit down with my client and we talk in general. Let me know about who you are, what your lifestyle is, what your goals are, what's your passion here, so that when we are sitting here and going through a tough time, um, that goal, that desire, that plan that you wanted put in place will keep you motivated because it's ultimately what you're trying, it's your achievement that we're working towards. I'm the tool to just help you get there.
Tanya,
Well,
can you
ladies,
just,
I really enjoyed it. I have to hop on our sales
Yep.
meeting at 11. Tanya, thank you
Nice.
so much for
Yes.
everything you spoke on. It was very informative. I learned a lot from you today.
I appreciate it. And I hope to see you on the 15th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Awesome.
you guys so
Yes.
much.
Thank you. It was good to meet
Thank
you,
you.
Jessica. Take
Nice
care.
to meet
All
you
right.
guys. Bye-bye.